and welcome to Trojan Poetry. This week I've chosen the poem. John has not seen it before, and we're continuing on with our poems that I'm trying to stump John with. I just want
not hard to do. Not hard to do.
If I achieve total silence after we're done, I think I'm onto something. Yeah. So we'll see how we do with this one. All right. So this is by Talvikki Ansel, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Talvikki Ansel. It's called 16 Stanzas in February. The cow pasture and starlings that settle all at once like a blanket, dark raisins over the cows' heads, lone goose flying down river, third violin, does it hope to catch up? Did it not notice the gathering, others heaving themselves from the pond? Third violin in the shadow of the violas, who would like to be a viola, rich-voiced as a blue-tick coonhound. In February, sun edges the tree trunks like the talent still to show itself. Maybe the third violin would slide into the seconds. The adolescent in personal use typing realized she could slow down and make no mistakes, an acceptable skill for the world of work. When a new chicken was introduced, she was first boss of the flock, but now they all get along. Scrutinize my boots, mittened hand reaching into the grain pail, the radius of a white bowl. To see them together is to forget one was the boss, one ate a mouse, one was intent on finding seeds in the curved wrists of the maple roots. The latch on the front door opens as you bring in firewood, blows open the back door, sends cats up the walls of the mudroom to cling to the shelf with its faded bottle of soap bubbles, an empty wand, frozen, open mouth, March, all that deceptive light, but no fruits yet. All right, so John breathed. So I don't know if that counts as silence or not.
The reason I always pause is because I know I'm inferior to, on first hearing a poem, I feel like I need to go back and reread it like 100 times. So
well, inferior
I'm trying
to what,
not to,
though? I mean,
because I don't want to look foolish.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, which is part of the point.
That's why we're doing this, to show people, our
okay.
students in particular, it's okay to not know what's going
foolish,
on. Yeah.
Which we do a pretty good job at, I feel like.
Look like you know what you're doing, and people leave you alone.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I noticed it did come out in the spring of 2018, so maybe, right after February. My initial thing was, 16 stanzas in February. I thought of the... I don't know how many ways of looking at a blackbird.
Yes.
Right, so I thought of that instantly.
Wallace Stevens, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I thought, why, because there are asterisks between the stanzas, why such an abrupt and why such a focus on the form? Because the stanzas aren't regular in form.
And they aren't necessarily stanzas. Some of them are just single lines.
Well, they are stanzas.
Yeah.
I mean,
and why did she choose to break them where she did? You know?
Right, so I kind of got bogged down in that, and I thought I was understanding it until I lost focus on the second. Well, no, I lost focus because I was
looking at the breaks
trying to
and things.
make connections and stuff. So I'm going to look at this again while Mike
thanks a lot.
fills us in.
You're going to throw this over to me, right?
Well, I mean, I did. I felt like I got the first page. Like, there's somebody trying to catch up with somebody and about being part of a group. But then what did you think?
But then not. But so, well, what was interesting to me the first time I read this was the whole thing about third violin, because everything else almost is nature imagery, and she's outside at this farm in February, and she's looking out at the birds. She notices the starlings settling, and then there's one goose. Third violin, does it hope to catch up? And then third violin in the shadow of the violas, who might be the starlings, who would like to be a viola. So there's that image of being left behind, not fitting in, you're not part of the group, right? And then she keeps mentioning the third violin again. Maybe the third violin would slide into the seconds. And then she goes right into the adolescents in personal use typing, realized she could slow down and make no mistakes. So now she jumps to herself in a class maybe called personal use typing, and she can slow down maybe to she's noticing things that she never noticed before. And the third violin, maybe that's herself, right? She wants to slide into the seconds and be like the others.
Right.
So the third violin really threw me at first, and I had to really go back and reread a couple times. And I don't know if I'm onto anything with that, but
Right, because it does go from this very nature-based kind of metaphorical. Clearly, she's projecting her own feelings onto the goose, right? The third goose who's trying to catch up, but then she maybe starts to make peace with that. But then the second part, it's almost all about her, or the narrator, the speaker, and she goes inside, right? So she goes back inside. The cat's empty one. So then, and then again, the last part of the poem, I always go like, what's at the end, right? What's at the end? March, right? So the poem's 16 stanzas in February, which February didn't seem to go too well, right? Like
Right.
February, the young, and if we think of February as being like the young part of life, right? And then March is March, all that deceptive life, but no fruits yet. Like March is coming.
you're almost
She's growing
to
up.
spring.
She's an adolescent here,
And she's in the middle of the school year in this typing class.
right? And she's growing up, and she can see maybe some light of summer, right? But it's not there yet. So she's kind of stuck in this transitional.
Yeah, adolescence,
spot.
which
Yeah,
is the worst.
right.
And I can totally relate to that from my own experience.
Tell us, Mike.
Tell me more. I really like the second to last stanza, an empty wand, frozen open mouth.
I didn't get that. What's that?
So she's talking about the bottle of soap bubbles, and you know how you have those little plastic
Oh, yeah,
wands
yeah,
that you
okay.
take and wave around or blow through. And
Wait,
so,
is that what she's talking about?
Yes, it says a faded bottle of soap bubbles, an empty wand, frozen open mouth.
Oh, like, okay.
So like the soap bubble wand is like frozen in there?
From
or,
the summer, like previous.
Yeah, right. And so I thought that could be another comment on herself, that she's the empty wand, frozen in open mouth, waiting to thaw out, waiting to come alive, maybe.
To bear
'cause-
fruit.
Right, like our students. I mean, junior, senior year, they've got senioritis. They can't wait to get to that next stage in their lives. It gave me that kind of a feeling that you want to go out and, become an adult, right, and start that next phase after being an adolescent. So very interesting, that nature imagery, but then it also seems to be about the speaker
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
herself.
Yeah. And I always think it's interesting, like even in 2018, we're still talking about nature. We're still talking about, because that's one of the cliche topics of poetry, nature, but people still find so many fascinating ways to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Even though I would say we're, and there are studies of all this stuff, that we're slipping away from nature, right? People actually have the disorder, like lack of nature disorder, or whatever that's called, right? Where they're not in nature enough. So I love the fact that there's still poets mining that imagery and that desire for connection, or maybe not here, but
Right.
using it,
Yeah, as
right,
subject
bringing
matter.
us back to it.
Yeah, and it's a very romantic topic, and I agree. That's why this stood out to me, because it was on a farm, and growing up in central Illinois, I could relate to that. Maybe you could too.
I'm from the big city of
excuse me.
Decatur, Illinois, a industry hub.
So you are
in
a
its
city
heyday.
slicker, as
Yes.
they say. Well, myself, as a semi-hick, can remember these things. And so I agree with you. I think it's great to still see this kind of stuff being written about.
All right, well, I think, Mike, this is the last episode of season 2 of Trojan Poetry.
Say what? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Time flies.
season 3, I think, is going to be even more full of promise.
That's right.
And excitement.
As we move from March,
We're
and
talking
begin to
robots,
thaw. What?
aliens,
Yes.
lasers. I don't know.
Volcanoes. What else? Yeah,
Volcanoes.
us. It's going to get better than it's
Yeah.
better than ever. Better than ever.
Right. Version
I mean,
3.0.
Right. You
Progress,
never know.
onwards and
3.0.
upwards.
Yes, that's right.
It never,
Here we go.
nothing ever goes backwards.
No, we're always.
We're not going to de-evolve.
No, why would we do that?
No.
Is that a good idea? No.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Join the conversation on Twitter at Trojan Poetry DGN, and check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.